Dear students, in this video we will be discussing some basic nuances of various types of aphasias. So this will be a video on aphasias in a nutshell. So we will start with the various lesions and those lesions causing various aphasias and the basic characteristics of each aphasia. So we start with diagram number 1. If you see, there is a lateral side section of the brain drawn here, and this is the inferior frontal lobule where the Broca's motor speech area is situated. This is the inferior frontal lobule of the dominant hemisphere where the Broca's motor area, that is the motor speech area, is situated. This in the perisylvian area, that is the sylvian sulcus, and this is the perisylvian area, which constitutes the superior temporal gyrus, and the inferior parietal lobule is the Wernicke's area, or this is the receptive area where the motor comprehension is comprehended here in the, that is the sensory speech area, that is the Wernicke's area. The Broca's area and the Wernicke's area are associated with each other by a fasciculus which is known as the arcuate fasciculus. So the messages from the Broca's area is conducted to the Wernicke's area through the arcuate fasciculus. So this is the language network on the dominant hemisphere, which constitutes, again summarizing, the Broca's area, motor cortex, that is the motor speech area, the receptive sensory area where the motor speech is comprehended, and all these things happen through this arcuate fasciculus. Later on we will go where are the lesions and what are the characteristics of various aphasias. So if there is a lesion in the dominant hemisphere in the Broca's area, then the speech deformity or the speech dysfunction or the aphasia will be Broca's aphasia. What will be the characteristics of Broca's aphasia? Because it is the motor aphasia, characteristically comprehension is normal. Comprehension is normal. एक पेन here the comprehension is intact. The patient will understand everything what has been asked, but unfortunately fluency will be lost because the motor speech area is damaged. So fluency will be lost. Characteristically, the word output will be less. There will be lesser word output. There will be no grammars, that is the grammatical errors will be maximum because the output is less. So there will be a grammatism or grammatical error will be there. Repetition is lost. If you ask the patient to repeat a word, the patient won't be able to repeat it. Repetition will be lost, and there will be associated anomia, that is naming of common objects will be lost. So naming will be lost. So these are the characteristic features of the Broca's aphasia. The lesion will be in the inferior frontal lobule Broca's area in the dominant hemisphere. Come to the second diagram. Here the Broca's area is intact, but the lesion is in the perisylvian area, that is the Wernicke's area, that is the sensory aphasia, because everything what is being heard is understood in the Wernicke's area. So second lesion will be a lesion in the perisylvian cortex, middle cerebral territory. Here also usually the dominant middle cerebral artery territory, Broca's aphasia, middle cerebral artery territory, Wernicke's aphasia. What are the characteristics of Wernicke's aphasia? I told you there will be a sensory aphasia. Comprehension will be lost because basic understanding area is gone. Comprehension will be lost. But the speech will be fluent. Speech will be fluent because the motor cortex area, the motor speech area is intact. Repetition will be lost. Patient won't be able to repeat. Patient won't be able to name. To name some other characteristic features of Wernicke's aphasia, it is also known as sensory aphasia. It is also known as Here there are specific other situations that come in other clinical examination findings are neologisms and paraphrasias. The patient will use new words created by himself, which are known as neologisms, and paraphrasia means classically in Wernicke's area, the Wernicke's aphasia, the patient will substitute word one for another. This can be of two types. One is a semantic paraphrasia and second will be a phonemic paraphrasia. I will give you an example of a phonemic paraphrasia. If you ask the patient to identify a pencil, the patient will tell pentil. So pencil and pentil is a kind of a phonemic defect. So there will be a phonemic paraphrasia. And what is a semantic paraphrasia? The patient will substitute some action of that particular object. If you ask the patient if you show a chair to the patient and ask what is it, the patient will say this is to sit. That means he is understanding that something like sitting is done on this, but exactly it is a chair, the patient is not able to say. So grammar will be intact. The speech will be fluent with a correct grammar, but whatever the patient is speaking, all will be erratic, nothing can be comprehended by the examiner. So this is Wernicke's aphasia. In the third diagram, if you see, I have drawn this green area. This is the area where I had drawn the lesion, in this area. That is, if you see, this is just in front of the Broca's area. This area is damaged. That is the association cortex which is associated with Broca's area. Broca's area is spared, but the area in front of the Broca's area is damaged. And usually, this is the diagram. Usually this is a characteristic aphasia where the lesion is in the anterior cerebral artery. Majority of the aphasias are due to involvement of the middle cerebral artery. Here we start with one aphasia which is usually involved by the involvement of the anterior cerebral artery, the area in front of the Broca's area. That is why it is called as transcortical motor. Broca's is the motor, transcortical motor aphasia. The characteristic feature of transcortical motor aphasia would be everything is exactly like Broca's aphasia. Everything will be like exact Broca's aphasia. That is, the comprehension is intact, the fluency is lost, the naming is lost, but the patient is able to repeat if you give a word. So everything exactly like Broca's aphasia except repetition is intact. It is transcortical motor aphasia. Now in the next diagram, the lesion is posterior to the perisylvian, the main area of the Wernicke's area. Posterior to the Wernicke's area. Wernicke's area is spared. This is the area where the lesion is there. Again, MCA territory can give rise to this kind of feature. That is known as transcortical sensory aphasia, because this is the sensory speech area. So exactly everything will be like a Wernicke's aphasia, but the patient will be able to repeat. Repetition is intact. So exactly like Wernicke's aphasia, comprehension is lost, fluency is intact, repetition is intact, naming is lost. So this is transcortical sensory aphasia. Coming to the next diagram, here we see the motor speech area and the sensory speech area. They talk to each other by the arcuate fasciculus. This is the arcuate fasciculus. If a lesion is there in the arcuate fasciculus in the dominant hemisphere, then the aphasia is known as conduction aphasia, because the conduction of the waveform, the wave impulses between the two major areas are damaged. So how a patient of conduction aphasia is diagnosed? Here the comprehension is intact, the fluency is also intact, as if everything is going on fine till now, but repetition is lost and naming is lost. So this is the characteristic feature of conduction aphasia. Everything will be, to a start, looks good, but when you ask to repeat and name, the person is not able to do the same things. So this is conduction aphasia. Now this is a bigger lesion in the dominant hemisphere. the whole this part is damaged, which is including the Broca's, arcuate fasciculus and the vernix area, which is known as global aphasia. Nothing is spared. Comprehension lost, fluency lost, repetition lost, naming lost. So large infarcts, including that involve the stem of the middle cerebral artery on the left side or dominant side, will lead to global aphasia. Now, two separate interesting phenomena we will discuss here in aphasias. One is a pure word deafness. Now, in this diagram you see, this is the Brodmann's area number 41, which is the primary auditory cortex, and this is the area number 22, vernix area. When somebody is talking in the primary auditory cortex, we are listening to the talk, then the information is going to the vernix area. Now what is being talked to is comprehended here. If there is a lesion here in the inferior parietal, the superior temporal gyrus, in the temporal lobe, the superior temporal gyrus, there is a lesion here. Then this lesion disconnects the primary auditory cortex from the audio psychic, that is the vernix area. So here, whatever is talked to, the patient is not going to comprehend. Whatever is talked, he listens, but because there is disconnection between listening and understanding, he is not understanding what is being talked. If you ask the patient to interpret a written message, you ask the patient to interpret a written message, the patient will carry forward your instruction after reading correctly. But if you talk the same message to the patient is not going to respond. So this is pure word deafness. Lastly, another is that is alexia without agraphia, or a pure word blindness. So here on the left side, in the left dominant hemisphere, the lesion is in the occipital cortex and in the splenium of the corpus callosum. I have drawn the corpus callosum, the fornix genu isthmus, in the splenium of the corpus callosum. Here, without going forward, I am first telling you another important message here. We told that majority of the aphasias are due to middle cerebral territory involvement, except transcortical motor aphasia, it is due to anterocerebral artery involvement. Here, alexia without agraphia is due to a lesion in the posterior cerebral artery territory. The lesion in the posterior cerebral artery territory will lead to alexia without agraphia or pure word blindness. How to explain? It is the same thing. Here, the visual cortex is getting dissociated from the psychic area, that is the speech psychic area. Whatever the patient is seeing, information is not going to cater to the psychic area so that he understands a written message. You talk to the patient, primary auditory cortex is intact, he understands everything. But if he sees a message, not able to read, which is known as alexia, cannot reach here, not understanding the written message. But if you ask the patient to see objects rather than written images, if you show the patient's objects, the patient will correctly identify the object, because object recognition doesn't traverse through the splenium of the corpus callosum. Object recognition traverses to the anterior parts of the corpus callosum to the psychic area. So these lesions are usually associated with a right homonymous hemianopia. So written text will not be understood by the patient, alexia, but writing is intact, speaking is intact, spelling identification is intact, object showing he will identify, writing is lost. So these are in nutshell various aphasias we discussed. So we are talking about aphasias. Continuing this process, I will be finally discussing with you one type of aphasia which is known as what was left was isolation aphasia. Isolation aphasia. And I will be talking about two new categories of neurological symptoms, very tricky and interesting, though one of them is known as aphaemia and another is aprosodia. So we will be discussing in this video as a continuum. First I will come to isolation aphasia. This is nothing, as you see here, it is a combination of isolation aphasia is equal to transcortical motor aphasia plus transcortical sensory aphasia. These two things we have already discussed. So transcortical motor aphasia, we know that it is the association area in front of the Broca's area. If it is having a lesion in a CVA or something like that, classically the comprehension is intact, the speech is non-fluent, but repetition is intact as compared to Broca's aphasia. And here we also discussed transcortical sensory aphasia. It is again the damage in the association cortex, that is the posterior to the vernix area, sparing the vernix area. The classical presentation will be, as we know, is equal to a vernix aphasia. All other characteristics are equal to vernix aphasia, but repetition is spared. So in total, if there is a damage to the complete association areas, including the transcortical sensory part and transcortical motor part, that is anterior to the Broca's area and posterior to the vernix area, this complete syndrome will be known as, complete speech disorder will be known as, and isolation language disorder will be known as isolation aphasia. So here the comprehension will be lost and the word output will be lost as Broca's and vernix. Only repetition will be intact. Only repetition will be intact, as if the repetition part is spared and all other functions of the Broca's aphasia and vernix aphasia will be there. So here, when the repetition part is spared, classical presentation of a patient of isolation aphasia would be, the patient repeats what the examiner asks. Any word the patient hears from anybody, the patient goes on repeating those words or heard words in fragments or statements. Like this is known as echolalia. So echolalia is a characteristic presentation of isolation aphasia, which will be a total damage sparing the normal language network. The association cortex of the language network is damaged, and this is what is in a nutshell isolation aphasia. This is a summary, it's a summation of transcortical motor and transcortical sensory. What you remember is echolalia, repetition is intact, all other combined features of Broca's and vernix would be there. Now coming to another interesting thing, which is known as aphaemia. To start with, aphaemia is not actually an aphasia. It is not an aphasia. Because in this type of speech disorder, that's why I am not using the word language disorder, it is a speech problem where there is rather an apraxia to speak. The patient forgets to utilize the muscles which are involved in speech, like the oral muscles, labials, linguals, gutturals. All these muscles, they are not weak actually, but the patient forgets to use them. So it is a kind of apraxia. Comprehension is intact, writing is intact, reading is intact. So it is not an aphasia. It is an apraxia, or forgetting. The patient forgets to use, how to contract the muscles that are going to form a speech. So sometimes the the patient will present as a mute patient, mutism. In the profound sense, aphemic patients, they can present as acutely, they suddenly become mute, acutely they are mute, and it is a reversible condition. Reversibility is a rule, it's a reversible condition, and the usual causes of aphemia are, the basic site of lesion is, as you see, this is the precentral, this is the central sulcus, this is the precentral gyrus, this is the postcentral gyrus, this is the frontal lobe. So scattered damage to the frontal lobe and the inferior part of the precentral gyrus lesions, they cause aphemia. And the classical presentation will be mutism. Everything is normal, no weakness of the muscles per se. The patient learns how to speak, the patient forgets how to speak, and it's a reversible situation. The common conditions which cause aphemia is usually hypoxia, carbon monoxide poisoning, or watershed infarcts. Watershed infarcts in the anterior or middle cerebral territory. This is what is aphemia. Coming to a third type of disorder, which is known as aprosodia. Here, the lesion is in the same area of Broca's area. As we saw, the Broca's area, the motor speech area is in the dominant hemisphere, inferior frontal lobule of the dominant hemisphere. Here, if the lesion is present in the non-dominant hemisphere, the lesion is in the non-dominant hemisphere, in the same region of the Broca's area, that is inferior frontal lobule, the patient presents with a classical disorder which is known as aprosodia. So what is prosody? Prosody. Prosody is when we speak, the rhythm, say for example, I will talk about a sentence here. Any sentence we speak with some intention, whether it is a question mark, it is an exclamatory sentence, or it is a question mark sentence, we change the sentence intonation, rhythm, rhyming in such a way that the sentence looks like a question. The sentence can be a full stop, a sentence can be an exclamatory mark. We change that sentence in such form, in a rhythm, in a rhyming, in the intonations, in the timbre. All these things change the meaning of a sentence so that a listener will perceive it as a question asked or a real exclamatory phenomenon, whatever. So that is known as prosody. So in lesions in this non-dominant hemisphere inferior frontal lobule, the patient loses this. Say for example, normally, take this sentence as an example, he is clever. So when I say he is clever, full stop, so everything is fine. It is a complete statement, X is a clever person. But if I just put a question mark here, he is clever. So the rhythm changed. He is clever to he is clever. So here it's a question mark. And my voice changed, the rhythm changed for the statement, he is clever. Now, exclamatory mark, he is clever, he is clever. So this is the exclamatory sentence. Again, the change in intonation was little bit different from a question mark statement and from a just a full stop statement. This, to a certain extent, if we go a little bit ahead, talking about the semanticism of this, say he is clever. He is clever means this is an affirmative statement about somebody who is really clever. He is clever. Now, if I just change the intonation and clarity to this line, it can suggest a sarcasm also. Like, he is clever. He is clever. So this is a type of sarcasm I am telling. He is clever. So even to going to that extent, This is whatever, this is known as prosody. Now you mark another thing. Maybe I am a little bit of melodramatic, but it is real. When again we talk about these statements, along with these statements, the person's facial expression also changes. Say for example, he is clever. He is clever. He is clever. So also the facial expression is also changing with this. And these patients, they lose this, there is no exclamatory, there is no question mark in their statement. It is just a monotone everywhere. The perception is like just a monotonous perception. He is clever. He cannot say like a question mark like this. And along with this, the facial expressions which are required for this are also lost. It is known as prosoplegia. So aprosodia and prosoplegia is lesion in the non-dominant frontal lobe where the speech becomes a monotone. It lacks all the clarity of rhyming, rhythming, timbre, and whatever we utilize normally to create different types of statements from a single sentence. It is creating different types of impressions, perceptions, that is lost. This is known as aprosodia. Thank you.